All right, welcome back. So let me first off start by saying that Loki sabotaged this video. But I met with Lori Saucier from Cross Country Mortgage and the Loan Gal team. And let me just start by telling you that she is a wealth of knowledge. Um, she gave a lot of information about student loans and like the forbearance and everything like that. And that's just of what our conversation touched on. But there's a lot of gems in here and a lot of steals that you can grab if you're thinking about buying a house or just want to get your credit put together within the next couple of years with mortgages and everything like that. So you ain't gotta listen to me talk about it. It's all about her. So Lori, take the floor.
Wanted them to cover who I am without
Just
I grew up in a one bedroom,
a long spiel about how
exactly.
great I am.
Now, sadly or whatever, so this is Zane. So this was one of the canines from the Canton, and he was one of the nicer ones that they knew they could, we could do a photo shoot with him, because I obviously wanted it to be about my love of animals, my love of Homes for Heroes, and the canine officers and such. He got cancer, and earlier this year he passed away.
So the canines in Home for Heroes that's like your main two things, like when it comes to.
I mean, yes, calves, white wine, Disney. It'll tell you a little bit more, but yeah.
White wine.
Yeah.
Favorite white wine?
Like the Grinch at Christmas time. But yeah.
Is that the wine? The
White
Grinch
wine?
at Christmas time?
No. I'm just saying, who am I? The Grinch at Christmas time is
I thought
who
you loved Christmas.
I do, but I love the Grinch.
So, okay, fair. I'm not a Christmas person,
the
but if
Grinch
it's
is
going to be
realistic.
Christmas,
Goes through life kind of sad, but it's because he was disillusioned.
I ain't got no heart.
Grew 3 sizes that day or whatever, and all the little Whovilles and Wholands and all that good stuff. So anyway, so Officer Heslop, and that was
Okay, I was going to ask
so
you who
Zane.
that was.
Zane was his partner.
Okay, his partner.
And so this was the team at the time, and their big thing was experience matters, because again, I'm older than Methuselah.
Stop. Is the team still the same since this? Is this everyone that you still have today? Or?
She is she's still going to be around in someday, but she's having babies.
Oh, okay.
Matt is no longer with us, and the rest are yes. There's Donna.
Donna. I've never seen a picture of Donna or seen Donna before in my entire
life.
You
will never Donna is yeah.
First time I've seen Donna ever in life.
I don't even see Donna much, but yep. So that's the team, and you can always read this later, and it'll tell you about. But
white wine.
There's the white wine.
So is this?
But
thing
what does
where
it have? Dogs.
No, I was gonna ask.
All about dogs. My marketing is all about dogs.
Is there a benchmark that I have to hit to get the white wine with the puppy on it?
Well, actually, yeah. You know what? I mean, now I'm really giving away secrets. I don't want people to but just for simplicity, because it used to be hey, Lori, Bob's birthday is, next week. What do you want? And it was when you have 4 people, that's not hard to do. You do that 4 times over the year. But then it got to the point, I'm in Florida, I'm in Ohio, I'm in a meeting, I'm teaching, and she's trying to chase me and be Bob, I got to get Bob's birthday gift out. So we kind of came up with a way that we'll change it every year or 2. But yes, if you are, we grade A, B, C, and D. So she knows if an A is coming up, here's what you do. If a B is coming up, here's what you do. If a C is coming up, here's what you do. If D is coming up, here's what you do.
And I'm assuming that
she knows.
So you guys got a crazy CRM, I'm guessing, because you got the thing where your buyers are in there, where you have them color coded, and
4,000 some people. Yeah, but I will tell you.
Can I have your CRM? Or at least the blueprint.
No, it's cross country. It's it is. I can give you a few that are very good that I have used myself, because again, I'm not a real techie. I am. I don't give myself credit. I'm more techie than a lot of people. I understand it. I'm constantly learning. I'm training. It's not where I can devote enough of my time. And it's like a grocery store. They change it on Monday simply because they can't. The button's no longer here. It's over here. Doesn't really do anything different. They just moved it. And now it's not really a button. It's a square. So you're reading the instructions looking for a button, and there's no button. So that's my frustration with technology, but I embrace it. I understand it. It's wonderful.
We don't really have a choice anymore.
Right. But we still do a lot of things the old-fashioned grunt way. I have a piece of paper that I take with me, and I color code it, and that is how we know what I'm focusing on.
What
Is this a lead? Is it a VIP? Is it a realtor? Is it a referral partner? Is it a past client? Is
what are
it a
your
current?
VIPs? Or just
I'll tell you, because you'll have some. I'm going to show you what you're going to do on the realtor side of things.
Okay.
Comparable to what I do, but different, because like, again, a realtor could be my VIP,
Okay.
and that would obviously be one of my best clients.
Of course.
But as a realtor, well, you're not going to talk to other realtors.
Who's
like,
my
so,
VIP, Charles?
Your VIPs are going to be business owners, like what we were talking about, the politicians, the school boards.
I got you.
It could be neighbors, family members, influential people, your sphere of influence. It could be a baker. It could be an attorney. It could be an accountant. It could be anybody
so like just doing
that can turn you on to people that are either buying, selling, or going through life changes, because that's why people buy or sell.
Fair.
It's not because we want to be in debt for hundreds of thousands of dollars, or we want to pay 7% interest, or we want to pay out this huge bill. It's because we need to invest. We want to, build a future. We want to leave a legacy for our children. We want safety. We want more room. We want to be able to work out. We want room for our dogs. We want, to expand our family. We want to contract our family. We want to be closer to other family. We want to be farther from other
get
family.
Away from everybody.
We want, we've had a life situation and maybe we no longer want stairs. We don't want to take care of land. We want more land. We want to buy pigs. We're going to start building our, greenhouse and plant our own food because we no longer like giant eagle, like whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and that's the big thing.
The things they do to the food in the world, but
no, it is. It is, and that's.
Do you see the video where the meat they were cutting and the meat was like dancing on the inside? Like it was raw meat, but like it was like literally dancing. Like it was wild.
That's why I say stick with donuts. Like it's got all kinds of preservatives.
So they compare donuts to everything. They're like, oh well, you can drink this milkshake or you can have 5 donuts. So are donuts really even bad for you?
I don't know. I think it's gotten me through a lot of problems in life.
Fair. Well, you touched on interest rates, so I just want to ask you. Yes, I'll drink wine with you. Do you see anything coming up on the horizon as far as like not just interest rates, but just anything that might be emerging in financing?
So the biggest thing with interest rates right now, and like the experts even that I follow, that I, much more intelligent than me, I just know I need somebody guiding me, mentoring me, and I pay for the service. They have been accurate for 30 some years, 40 some years, 50 some years. The data doesn't lie.
Right.
After every recession, rates have come down. The problem we have now, which I think is different without getting political, but you have to bring that into it, is that we are so divided. We can't even agree what is the definition of a recession any longer. So as long as people are willing to distort the truth and change the rules halfway through, like fair is fair. Right. And if it's okay for me to sleep all day, it should be absolutely okay for you to sleep all day.
Of course.
Doesn't matter who likes to sleep and who doesn't like to sleep. Like what happens with one should happen with the other. And that's the problem right now, no matter what side of the fence you're on, is they can't agree even on what the rules are or who's going to follow them. You follow them, but I'm not going to follow them. You follow them on Monday. I might follow them on Tuesday. So that's where we expected rates to settle by now. So there's a lot of reasons why they will settle. It's an election year.
Yeah.
And again, not getting political, like it or not, people are going to inflate what they think is a positive, and they're going to push under the rug what they think is a negative. Nobody's going to dispute if they can say rates are coming down. Yeah. People are going to take credit for that.
Of course.
The other fact is that once inflation goes under control, and I think you and I talked about this, so we saw it because I see the applications, I watch the data, I listen to everything I can possibly find on it. So prior to COVID, car payments were on average $300 to $400. Now, yes, you still had some people that were paying $1,200 and some people that were paying $100. Like you had different tastes, but on average $300 to $400. So you take the high, the low, you average it out. That's what they were paying. Then we went into COVID, and by no choice of consumers, the government decided to put all student loans on hold. Student loans, I said it in 2008 when we had the mortgage meltdown. Our next big problem will be student loans. So fast forward to 2023, and I'm not a genius. I've just been in the business a long time. I can see the writing on the wall.
Of course.
And so student loans now, and then what we did, people are in tremendous amount of debt. There's not enough, I don't like that micromanaging or big business or government, like checking on everything. But at the same time, you can't hand somebody $20-some thousand a year and not even know if they're going to class.
That's a very true statement.
So we see it in loans. That people take out student loans, they go for enough time to
get the check and then disappear.
And then, okay, well, I only have to pay. I can defer it, but the interest is continuing to accrue. And it was always very interesting to me, like, why was student loan interest rates still at 8.5%, 9% when, like, the government was borrowing funds at 0, mortgages were at 2 and 3. So why was student loan debt still at 8.5? Like, that's still a very troubling.
So what do you see for happening?
So
going forward with it.
Well, so they turned all the payments off for 3 years.
Right.
Okay. As Americans, we don't have a lot of discipline. We have not been taught how to say, our government runs on a deficit. So how do we as families learn anything?
Right, of course.
So we took the money that, okay, let's say it's $280 were our student loan payments prior to COVID. For some people, it might have been $580, like whatever it was. We no longer have to pay it. The smart thing to do would have been to continue to pay it at 0 interest, knock that debt down in half.
For sure.
But very few people did that. But they spent the money.
Of course.
So the car payments now, and where they mostly spent it, some not because of their fault, but if their lease was up, if they had to get a new car, now rates are not at 0% on cars, or 1.99 for 5 years. That's what's really being affected. They're at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%.
For sure.
The cars themselves, because they couldn't get the supplies, they couldn't get the parts, like they couldn't do anything. Add that to the fact that we have to have heated seats. Like, we don't think of a door as a necessity. Like, we think of the 5th row that nobody is ever going to sit in needs to have electronic this, electronic that.
Yeah, my daughter has to be able to watch TV back there.
Yeah, like it's like, so the accessories are adding another $10,000, $20,000. And so now your average car payment post-COVID is $700 to $900. So the money that they should have been putting towards their student loans, they added to their car payment because they were paying 3, now they're paying 6 or 7. So now, as of October, student loans are due again after 3 years of not having to pay them. You haven't heard a whole lot about the media about that. The media tells you what they want to tell you. So they were bragging about the fact you didn't have to pay them, but now all of a sudden people are paying them. Add that to the fact that nobody understood the servicers, like we were talking about, like asking gas station people for directions. Right. So servicers are the least educated, the least paid, the least responsible, the least disciplined on a whole. And now let's put it on them to figure out what is the payment on this after deferring payments for 3 years, but not charging you interest. The programs don't know how to figure that. So everybody that got statements, and when I say everybody, I would venture to say it might be 100%, they got a statement that said, here's your student loan payment. The student loan payment is wrong. The balance is wrong. How many payments are left are wrong, because nobody knows how to figure that out.
Right.
And we rely on technology. We don't look at it as a human and go, oh, I know it's true. So I'm watching these videos and I'm looking into this because I believe it's going to be a problem. Yeah. And my son calls me and says, Mom, now he's paid his student loans the entire time. He never stopped paying. It was on auto pay. But now that they have to be paid again, the servicer changed to someone else. And he says, I don't understand it. Like, the balance looks about right. He says, but I have always paid, and I'm just making this number up, $215 a month from the day I got out and I started making payments. I have never missed a payment. I have never not paid. I paid the same amount, never paid $1 more or $1 less.
Right.
But you know how, like, if you take it out on semester 1, it's going to, like, that might be $3,000, and semester 2 is another $3,000. It gives you the total of $28,000, but it breaks it up by those different amounts. He's like, why does loan A say I have 96 payments left, and loan B says I have 72 payments left, and loan C says I have 102 payments left? He's like, if I've always the payment's right, $215, but how could I have different, like, they should all be paid off at the same time? And that's when it was confirmation to me that what I was hearing and reading about absolutely was true, and that these statements, but nobody's telling consumers that. First of all, they probably don't even get a statement in the mail.
Right.
And if they do, they don't open it. They go online. It's like banking. We used to reconcile our checking account. Like if I was off by a penny, I would sometimes stay up for hours. Like, where am I off that 10 cents? Now people look at the bank account. Oh, I got money, and they go shopping. Like, that's just the new way of doing things.
100%.
They don't really know whether they have money or not.
I don't need you attacking me like that.
Yeah, no.
I don't need that.
But that's what we live in now. Okay, you don't realize, well, your husband just spent half of that. I have the same conversation with my husband. He's like, oh, well, we're fine. Like, he'll want to buy something. I'm like, let's wait a couple weeks. He's like, oh, you've got X amount. I'm like, you see that I've got X amount, but you don't know that I just bought a boat.
Okay.
You know? Mm-hmm. So you don't know what I've spent, and you've got joint accounts and two people putting their hands in it, and maybe the kid is putting his hand in it too, and then next thing you know, like, you're like, oh, well, I thought we had $4,000. We have 67 cents. Well, yes.
Again, I don't need you attacking me like that. That's not what we're here for.
So that's the big thing with the student loan debt, is that now these payments are due. So now not only are they due for the first time in 3 years, the payments are wrong, the balances are wrong, the schedules are wrong. No, and I don't even know that most of the people know that.
So when you're catching it on your end, and you're seeing all these different things, how did I'm a college student with student loans, and I want to get my house bought, preferably this year. What does it look like for me?
So there is a program, a technology program, because I have ways that I've told Donna, like, get this, do that, because that's another thing that was a problem. So all during COVID, so all of the student loan rules changed during COVID. So we have like Ginnie for FHA and VA. We've got Fannie and Freddie, which are your two conventional loans. You've got USDA, you've got non-QM. So you have all these different entities. They all calculate student loan debt differently. So if, using COVID, for example, it didn't matter whether you continued to make your payments or you didn't make your payments. You were in deferment 5 years ago. Before COVID, you weren't in deferment. Doesn't matter. By law, what that law said is student loans cannot be reported with a payment. So even if you were paying $300 every month, if I pulled your credit, it would show zero. So then the guidelines, we have to default to the guidelines. If your student loan payment is not indicated on the credit report, we have to document what the student loan payment should be or is. We can do that by receiving your student loan paperwork online, see what your payment is, have it reported to the credit bureau correctly, and show that as your debt.
So or if I'm following you right, student loans aren't necessarily being reported to your credit.
They couldn't be during COVID.
Okay.
They had to report them as zero.
Paying it, then
that
would automatically go against you.
You were not obligated to pay it, and by them doing that, that stopped them being shown as delinquent.
So that was only towards during COVID. So once
that was through October. So October was the first time that credit bureaus now are going to start reporting, and it's about 30 to 60 days behind. Which is what people are like. So if you're a retailer or you're a lender or you're a servicer and you send in your proof of payments to everybody, like, it's not like, oh, okay, I missed my payment on the 30th. As of the 1st, it's going to show up delinquent.
Right.
It might not show up for a month. Some people don't send their tapes every 60 days. Some send it every 30 days. Some send it twice a month. Some send it every other month, whatever. So until they report to the repositories, we can't even see that information. But what I said is we need to figure out what the payment is. Because in a lot of cases, so Fannie and Freddie, they were both 1% at one time. So if there truly is a zero payment because of COVID or because you have a deferment unrelated to COVID, you're still in school, like whatever the case may be, and you don't have to make a payment. We had to give you a payment because what was happening, go back like 5-6 years, we weren't including a payment. And then 12 months later, we're putting these people into homes. They've got a $1,200 payment. Then 18 months in the future, their student loan payments were starting, and they couldn't afford both of them. Right, like they overnight. So
that does sound familiar.
Yes.
When people are getting these houses that they can't afford.
Right, because they never made a student loan payment.
So I see where you brought the connection.
The student loan rules then changed, and so FHA said you could include 0.5 as the payment.
Okay, so
Fannie and Freddie split it. One said 1%, one said 0.5. VA said take 5% of the balance and then divide it by 12. So first of all, that's why it matters who you're dealing with.
Yeah,
because
that's how I would have did the math. If I'm going to come up
a
with
lender, and if you don't even know the rules, how do you know what to tell your buyer? If you don't, and you just throw a number in there or don't know what to throw in there. That's why these approvals fall apart at the last minute, because usually an underwriter doesn't see the file till the very end. It's the reps and the loan officers and the processors that are doing all the work. If they're not doing the work correctly, it's not until the underwriter gets it and says, oh, that's not your income. Oh, that's not the right payment. Oh, you can't include a zero. Like I've talked to a lot of loan officers that were throwing things up there with zero payments. Well, you have to give them a payment. Just because it says zero, like, what are you going to put in there? Like, if you don't put something in there, it looks good and then it's not. So there is this program that I'm looking into. And because I've been coaxing and mentoring my buyers to call them, but we all know what that's like, getting a servicer on the phone.
Yeah.
During a time that's convenient. You're on hold for 3 hours, you get disconnected 12 times. So it's like, yes, it's important, they need to do it, but I completely understand. I'm also a consumer. It's frustrating. Sure. You don't want to do it. Like, you don't have any more time. So if I become part of this group and I can offer this service, they do it all. And not only do they do it, they do it correctly and they do it quickly. So that, because the biggest problem is I tell them, go get an IBR, go get an IBR, go get an IBR. I've called 3 times, I can't get anybody.
One time for the people in the back, what's an IBR?
Interest or income-based repayment.
Okay.
So
IBR
and IDR, income-driven repayment or income-based repayment. And that's going to be the key is, oh God, I could go on for 7 hours just on this tablet alone. So I'll use me as an example. So we came out of the mortgage meltdown. My family, our life changed for those few years. Like, I was greatly affected by it. I lost all my income. There were foreclosures. My kids were in school. They were going into college at that time. I never thought they were even going to have student loan debt. I thought I was responsible. I had put money aside. Okay. I had saved for their college. And then, no fault of mine, to keep the business going, to pay our bills. We sold stock. We paid off. We didn't have any money. Whatever. Savings is now gone. So we had student loan debt. So then, a couple years later, things are rebounding. I'm like, we're going on a 5-year payment plan. I'm paying top, I'm getting these things paid off. Because I thought financially that was the smart thing to do. I realized since then, some parts of it, but it wasn't until this year that I realized if you make a payment, and this is where manipulation and media, and I'm still doing some investigating, so I don't want to say this is 100% true, but I've done enough research that I believe this 99%. Mm-hmm. There's still a little bit I got to look into, but so they keep talking about they're going to forgive all these student loan debts. They're going to forgive all these student loan debts. They're going to forgive it. It's already written in. If you pay for 20 years and still have a balance, guess what happens? It's forgiven.
Really? Student loans?
Yes, as long as they're federal student loans. So what I see as a big problem is nobody knows it.
Hold on, time out, because nobody knows that.
Nobody knows it.
You mean to tell me that if I got 20 years worth of student loans, on that 21st year, we'll just use that as a loose number, I can send in a letter, write my president.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen that part of it, but yes,
on that line, I can send in a letter.
It is forgivable. Here's the problem. Nobody knows it.
Of course.
B, unlike what I did, which was stupid, and set it up on these gigantic payments, trying to pay it off on time. Why? People are deferring it.
Right, put it off. I'll take care of it later.
I have another kid. I made $10 less. I mean, we all know there are some people that could pay, choose to defer it. Just keep deferring. Keep deferring. I'm going to dig my head in the sand. Eventually, I'll deal with it. Not today. Tomorrow will be another day. Well, guess what? That doesn't count for 20 years.
Okay.
So if you defer it for 10, you have to start making payments.
Active.
Now, if people knew that, would they maybe not defer it? I bet they would.
I would say that would make a difference.
Because not only do you don't have to have the 10-year plan, you don't have to have the highest payment like I did. If you qualify for an IBR or an IDR and your payment is 0, that counts in the 20 years. So instead of deferring the loan, you give them your true financial picture. And you're right, you have a lot of kids, you've got a lot of responsibilities, you don't make a lot of money, you have to pay $15 a month towards your payment. That counts for the 20 years.
For 20, wow.
Now, would people have done that if they had known that? Would they maybe even have given up a Starbucks once a week to make their student loan payments so that it counted towards that 20 years?
Oh, yeah.
But nobody wants to know that because they want to come in now as heroes and say they're going to forgive the debt. You're not forgiving anything. It's already in there.
It's already forgiven.
You just don't know how to calculate the payments right now. And a lot of people have already been paying for 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. So yeah, all of a sudden now in the next couple years when they're forgiven because they've been making payments for 20 years.
So for information, I don't know how to do it. My first step is I want to go fill out an IBR and IDR.
If you have not yet,
if I haven't been in forbearance,
then I would say the very first thing you're going to do, always, and don't go to the site because that's what a lot of our customers do. There's things on the site that say like, do I qualify for the IBR? Do I qualify for the IDR? And then they come back and they're like, they threw all these things at me. I think this is the lowest I can get. You literally have to talk to somebody to truly know what is the best deal. That's why I think this program that I'm looking into is going to be key. That's what they're doing.
So
I'm paying them to be the experts, and they're going to look at the 7 options, and because that's all they do, 12 hours a day.
So what you're saying is you're not sharing that information just yet because once the cat's out the bag, it's out.
1%. My reputation means more to me than anything.
Of course.
So it's like, although I feel very confident, and obviously I've done some research, I'm passionate about it, I think it's a big deal. I need to know before I say call them.
It'd be something
that there's not. Again, can I know without a shadow of a doubt that you're not going to get a lazy person on the phone? I guess I never know that, but I have to feel confident that what they're going to do is to my client's best interest. If there's a charge, it's worth the charge. We're going to get the results back in 10 or 20 days. So we're going to be able to use it for this loan. Not we're going to qualify. Because what's happened when the rates were low, sometimes because I don't think they knew, sometimes because I think loan officers are lazy, they just took the 0. Okay, there's 0 on the credit bureau, so I'm going to give 1%, 1%, 1%. If it didn't disqualify them, they just went with it.
So
let's just go with it.
When you say the 1%, we kind of touched on it. The 1% would just be like
of the balance,
and 1% of that is going to be like
what you do as your payment. So if you have a $1,000 student loan, we're going to take 1% of that and make it your payment. You have another $7,000 student loan, we're going to take 1% and we're going to call that your payment. That's how we come up. So we've always had to explain to them, I understand, because they're like, I can afford more than $1,000. I'm comfortable with $1,400. Well, I understand you're comfortable with $1,400, but I have to put payments on these student loans that you're not paying anything towards. So you feel comfortable paying an extra $400, but these student loans that I'm giving you a payment for actually come to $500. So
and again,
that's eating up your $400.
That's where you see that correlation of, oh yeah, you're not making your payment. You can afford $1,400 until
you
that
have to
mortgage
make a payment
or your tuition comes back due.
So that's